JP Morgan Swift CEOs talk smack about Bitcoin once again. Also, we're going to talk about Swift GPI today. There's a lot of things going around and people kind of sharing the wrong information. So I want to go over the facts in this video. I also have an older clip from David Schwartz here, which is actually really cool, really good. And we're also going to talk about RLUSD towards the end. There's some new information coming to light about USDT that I think you need to know about. So let's go ahead and first start here. Sunday morning show. Let's go ahead and play this. Here is the CEO, Jamie Dimon of JP Morgan Chase Bank.
What Jamie Dimon has to say about things. Listen to him on Bitcoin. You have called Bitcoin a Ponzi scheme. You've said that it's as useless as a pet rock. What do you really think?
You're going to have some kind of digital currency at one point. So I'm not against crypto. Bitcoin itself has no intrinsic value. It's used heavily by sex traffickers, money launderers, ransomware. So I just don't feel great about Bitcoin. I applaud your ability to want to buy or sell it. Just like I think you have the right to smoke, but I don't think you should smoke.
I mean, there is truth in Jamie Dimon's views around Bitcoin. Bitcoin is used for a lot of illicit activity. There could be legislation, laws globally, right? They could come together and pass some stuff that would make it harder to use Bitcoin in such a manner. I don't know how you fix such big things, guys. The US dollar is still the number one thing used for illicit activity globally, but digital currency will play a role in that. And what the ramifications of that will be in the future, we just don't know yet. I did want to point out that JP Morgan has been working on their own blockchain solutions for quite some time. This actually used to be called Onyx, and now it's called Connexus, but this is by JP Morgan. So they do have their own digital assets, digital payments, Link and Labs, right? So it says unlock greater utility for your assets through the flexibility and power of tokenization, automate to facilitate transactions 24/7 in near real time cross borders with our next generation deposit ledger and payments rail. And then it talks about a few other things here, but I think you get the gist here. Hey, crypto as a whole, Bitcoin being the first, I think that holds a lot of value and sway. I do think Bitcoin is going to continue to keep going up in price until the market comes to a close here in 2025 when we go back into a bear market. Will Bitcoin ever hit $1 million? Personally, I believe it eventually will. How long will that take? That's the real question. I do think it could definitely happen next market. Other than that, it's going to be a slow ride. Now, I did need to address this, guys, because listen, who you decide to follow and get information from online is totally up to you. But someone saying that XRP is going to be at $317 sometime in January, this doesn't feel, this feels, okay, so let's just read the tweet and then I'll give you my context, okay? It says XRP's price will suddenly be around $317.80 sometime in January. This will be caused by over $20 trillion entering the XRP ledger from Japan. Japan's economy, big money like that, BlackRock, JP Morgan. Okay, so man, I even think the value, right? So about $2 trillion is, I mean, he's correct. If 20 trillion came onto the ledger, suddenly it would bring the price of XRP to about this. He's actually very accurate on 20 trillion and this, very close. But I don't know if this person's talking about this January as in what we're in right now, or next January, because ISO doesn't go into effect until November of 2025, right? This year, November. All right. And then, there is a 2-year period where banks have time to come and move over to ISO. So could there be some big event that happens where a lot of value just gets brought on to blockchain suddenly? Yes. Do I think it's this month, this January? No, personally. All right. Also, here's what I wanted to address. I had some comments when I played a few of these clips in a video in past videos, and I wanted to address it today. Let me play this, and then we'll talk about Swift GPI.
I do think what has happened at GPI is a big step forward. For 40 plus years, we had a construct around how cross-border correspondent banking worked. It worked, but it had a lot of limitations. We're seeing that move forward, but I think it's a step forward when you're switching from kind of, if I may, horse and buggy to Hey, can we make the horse and buggy go faster? Sure, but if we can actually just move to a Ferrari, let's do that.
So you've said before that you think there's a world where Ripple could take over Swift.
Well, I've also said I thought there was ways we could work with Swift.
Let's talk about that.
Fair enough. All right. So what is Swift GPI? So Swift Global Payments Innovation GPI is a payment service that improves the speed, transparency, and tracking of cross-border payments. Believe it or not, when you send a cross-border payment, depending on the length of the payment, like how far it needs to go around the world and how many different banks and rails it needs to travel to get to its final destination, actually, sometimes they have no idea where your money actually is. Believe it or not, that's actually a real fact. And at about 6% of international transactions end up failing. This says speed. The median processing time is less than 2 hours. The fastest routes taking less than 5 minutes. 50% of transactions are completed within 30 minutes and 96% are completed within 24 hours. And it also says transparency provides visibility into processing fees, exchange rates, and costs and times. Also has tracking. The GPI tracker provides real-time visibility into payment status, including confirmations upon crediting the beneficiary's account. Remember, so this is nostro vostro, yours and mine, which means you still need to have, $27 trillion locked up globally to make this old system work. I think when Brad Garlinghouse is talking about going from a horse and buggy, can you make it faster? He's talking about, Swift coming out with Swift GPI. Yes, you're making it faster, but it's still an antiquated old system that is still costly. You don't see anything on here that's talking about cost savings for banks, right? You also don't see anything here on instant transactions. You do see, some of it taking up to less than 5 minutes, which is great. Also, transparency, tracking, security, these are all good things, but there are better systems currently that we are talking about every day here on this channel that could provide a lot. Also, Swift doesn't really offer rails for tokenization of financial assets, right? I've not seen any documentation around that. If you have, please let me know down in the comments. I'd love to dig into it. And so here's a clip of that I found that Bank XRP shared of David Schwartz explaining. He talks about, listen to Ripple CTO David Schwartz explain XRP. I thought this was a great video, so I wanted to share it with you.
XRP is a universal vehicle of value. This is one of the tools that Ripple is using to solve the international payment challenge. This is a digital asset that moves value between two parties in just a few seconds in a neutral system. It doesn't have an operator. It doesn't have a central counterparty. It's censorship resistant. It's fast and reliable.
Central counterparties talking about Swift, right? So when you're sending money to somebody else, Swift, who's the 11,500 banks, they're the counterparty. They're the people that have to handle your payment, right? So when you can eliminate the middleman, right, you can eliminate costs. And when you can eliminate costs, the money that you're saving, when it gets to the other side, that person is going to receive more of it if it's not using this old Swift system. Remember, Swift GPI is just a more kind of sped up version of already the same. It's still costly. It's still inefficient, and it's still, older technology, but they're speeding it up. I guess it's like having two horses and then they're like, hey, maybe this, this carriage could go faster with 4 horses or 6 horses or 10 horses, right? You still can't beat a Ferrari regardless of how many horses that you have pulling that stagecoach.
XRP lives on the XRP ledger, just like Bitcoin lives on the Bitcoin blockchain. The XRP ledger has some very interesting properties, though. It's very cheap, a tiny, tiny fraction of a penny. It's very fast. Payments can be fully confirmed in less than 10 seconds. It's available on over 100 exchanges and traded on over 200 currency pairs.
All right, hold on. Sorry, excuse me. I wanted to pause it right here. See, you can't even come close. You can't even come close with the current system. And the reason that I feel that small to medium-sized banks and even bigger banks are going to want to use this is the bigger the bank you are, the more payments that you do, the cheaper that you can make those payments, the faster you can make those payments, the more money that you're going to be able to make in the end, right? Think about, most global transactions, you're looking at like a 10% fee, 8% fee. It could be 15 or 20%, depending where you're sending that money. If it's a more exotic corridor to get that money to, if there's less rails to get that money to that place, you're going to be paying a higher fee. Now, if those banks could send that same amount of money for 1%, and charge you 4 or 5%. They can even make more money off of you, but still saving a shit ton using this new technology. That's why I personally believe that we will see banks using XRP and RLUSD in the SWIFT system because they're going to want to save money.
So this is an open source decentralized technology that provides a digital asset that provides scalability, speed, and low cost. It enables the full settlement of transactions for fractions of a penny. The XRP ledger doesn't just host XRP though, it has a tremendous amount of built-in functionality. It's a sort of fixed function blockchain. It's not like Ethereum where you can add your own functionality yet. There's been work to add that feature, but it does have very sophisticated fixed function transactors, and a major feature is issued assets and the decentralized exchange. So issued assets are assets other than XRP that have some counterparty. You can
So when we're talking about issued assets, we're talking about the stock market, with the bond market, the derivative market. We're talking about real estate. You can talk gold, anything on earth that has in value that people want to transact. They buy and sell. They export, they import. I always, when I start thinking about this, I always start thinking about the things that go into solar panels or any, batteries that go into cars, all of those rare earth materials. Those have billions of dollars worth of value. That also can be issued on the XRP ledger and transacted instantaneously. And I think you will see those type of assets eventually reaching. I do think you're going to see stocks and bonds and derivatives, that kind of stuff going first. And then you're going to see more of like the more exotic, I guess, items that you would call them. But hey, if we get stocks, bonds, derivatives, if we can start getting 5%, 10% of that market on the XRP ledger, your XRP is going to be worth, hundreds, if not into the thousands of dollars one day, because you are talking about quadrillions of dollars. And if you can bring $100 trillion in value on the XRP ledger, guys, I mean, we showed an example earlier of 20 trillion equaling about $317. I think the guy said he's pretty close, right? It's like $350, give or take, depending on circulating supply. I mean, can you imagine adding, 5 times that, right? You'd be looking at like a $1,500 XRP.
You can set credit and balance limits. You can decide what issued assets you want to hold. There are order books, so people who want to trade one asset for another can trade them. And cross-asset payments work using the liquidity in the order book. So if there's someone who's willing to trade US dollars for Bitcoin, then you can pay US dollars and deliver Bitcoin or vice versa. And the network will figure out how to make that payment work for you. And payments have incremental execution, so you don't have to buy down a single order book and get a bad rate for a large payment. Payments can execute across multiple order books concurrently. These are features that have been around in the XRP ledger since 2012. These are not new features.
Same.
So these issued currencies exist as a balance between two accounts. Like if I have $50 at a bank, we think of the bank as owing me $50. It's a positive $50 balance for me and a negative $50 balance for the bank. And if you trust the same bank I do, then I can make a payment to you by doing something that lowers my balance and increases your balance. And now the bank owes me less money and you more money.
I just thought that was a great clip, guys. I hope you got the same value as I did when I first watched it. So also we're going to talk about XRP. The Wave emphasizes user-friendly DeFi solutions for businesses. 25-second clip. Let's see it.
Uniswap is big. They're the behemoth in the space, no doubt. But if you compare that to the size of traditional finance payments or traditional finance trading, it is minuscule. And so I think the next big phase is going to be how can you create a developer experience, the right tooling and value proposition to actually reach these massive traditional financial markets. And I think that'll be the next big phase.
Building solutions to connect DeFi and traditional finance, CeFi, right? Let me go ahead and play this one
We
too.
are working on an EVM sidechain, so that'll stand alongside XRP Ledger. XRP will be the native asset that will be bridged over via Axelar. So thanks for building a great product for that purpose. And, back to what you said before about what if you want to customize in this way, the XRPL doesn't have pre-built into it. And so that's where the EVM sidechain comes in. But the way that we're thinking about it, at least from a Ripple perspective, this will be a public chain. Anyone can build on it, whatever and however they want to. But from a Ripple perspective, we're really trying to test the waters with Axelar, general message passing, and see how we can use the EVM sidechain as sort of a back end for XRPL mainnet applications. So we have a partner that's building a lending application, for example, where their contracts are in the EVM sidechain. But from a user perspective, we don't want to stop the momentum of a decade of users and liquidity building up on XRPL. So, this application, say I want to deposit it to the protocol, will be available from a mainnet wallet. And so the user's not even aware that their funds are being, siphoned over the EVM sidechain. And that's actually where the smart contracts are. And a lot of that is thanks to, Axelar technology and GMP. So I don't know if you want to give a little bit of context.
All right, we don't need to hear the rest of that. So Edo Farino, I think he's actually the biggest XRP on Twitter as far as the stuff that he shares on Twitter. I think he's got one of the biggest accounts, which is, man, he puts out a lot of great work. A very talented guy. He says Tether's move to El Salvador is a sign of avoiding stricter regulations in the US, and it seems to be a calculated effort to escape regulatory pressure, and worse, could signal that Tether is preparing to lose its peg. This was some news to me. Tether relocates to El Salvador. This is some pretty crazy stuff. This is why I warn you guys, be careful when you're holding USDT. I know we all think it's, fun and games. It's all fun and games in crypto until you lose all of your money. And if all of your money is in a stable coin and is in Tether, listen, if it's in Tether, if it's in USDC, if it's in whatever, if something happens to whatever, you lose all your money, right? Or you lose a lot of it. Be very careful, right? Like if you had the option, and let me just, you as an investor, your decision out here in the crypto space, if you are an investor, you're talking to your financial advisor, you are making decisions, right? What am I going to put my money into? What do I feel is safe? All right. If you had a chance of choice, whether what to use as far as digital currency goes, right? Stablecoin goes, are you going to pick the stablecoin that's moving to El Salvador to avoid regulation? Or are you going to pick the highest regulated stablecoin in the entire world? I mean, when it comes to, so Tether's in the middle here, right? Yes, it's on a lot of blockchains. It's been around since 2014. It's never had an audit. We've talked about this a lot on this channel. Approved by NYDFS, New York Department of Financial Services. It doesn't get any bigger than that, okay? Limited regulatory oversight. Just be careful with Tether, guys, is all I'm trying to say. There's also this video here. Let me go ahead and play it for you. One second.
Naturally, we will find use for the Ripple stablecoin, the Ripple USD, in our own products and our customers as well. In custody, it's an ideal asset for settling trades of real-world assets. In our payments product, we'll be using the Ripple USD alongside of XRP to provide more liquidity options in the payment flow. And the stable coins have already proven their value in the market as tools for on and off ramps. So this is a great way to get fiat onto the chain and leave it in an asset that is tied to the fiat currency until you're ready to deploy it for other uses. And similarly, a great way when assets are liquidated to be able to easily move the funds around the world.
Listen, there's a lot of ideas for using RLUSD in the current banking system, right? Will it be the digital representation of the US dollar in the United States, right? Trump could make something like that. He takes office now in 7 days. What's going to happen? What are his priorities going to be? Is crypto still going to be one of his top priorities? And if it is, man, are we going to be in luck? I'll see you next time, guys. Thanks so much for being here. Big Crypto Sensei. Aloha.